Hey guys, welcome to another video. I have a request from Gabona Sibas, who wrote some video related to set actions would be a good idea because I don't understand how it works. Well, actions are super powerful in Tableau, so I'm going to do an entire video on all the things you can do with actions. So before we get into that, I do want to show you guys that I have updated my channel artwork. I've modified a lot of the thumbnails. I'm learning so much about YouTube. So if you guys like the new artwork, reply in the comments with something like hashtag jelly babies, right? Something fun. And also I have filmed and recorded and scheduled heaps of videos. You can see they're all on their way. And we have videos all the way up until the end of December. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and set up the notification bell to all so that when the videos come out, you can see them straight away. All right, let's get into the video. All right, we're now in Tableau and we're looking at the Superstore data. And let's do an example of actions, right? So I'm going to show it to you in action. See what I said there? Let's do category and sale. So something really basic. If you've seen a lot of my videos before, you'll see that I do this quite often. And let's add that in here. So I'm not going to explain too much about this kind of building bar charts and everything, because this is kind of like straightforward now. Let's hide that. I'm going to do another one, subcategory this time. Let's do sales. All right, and I'm going to color it by category. All right, let's call this subcategory, category. Let's call this category. All right, let's bring this into a dashboard. Clean this up a little bit. All right, reduce the height, make that like this. Let's go entire view and maybe highest to lowest. All right, let's get rid of this. Add a little bit of white space in between. All right, we're now ready to use actions. All right, what happens if I click technology? Well, nothing happens. What would be nice to see is to be like, well, what is technology made of? Like, what is this $1.3 million actually made of? So when I click on it, it'd be nice that it filters for just the red ones, right? Or if I click the orange ones, it filters just the orange ones, right? So the way I can do that is when you've activated a sheet inside the dashboard, and actions only work in a dashboard, right? They don't work in a sheet because the idea of actions is it's one sheet affecting another or filtering another sheet. So you can't do that in just the individual sheet mode. So it has to be in the dashboard. So if you're ever confused of, where's my dashboard, where's my action button, just make sure you're in a dashboard, right? So we go ahead and just press this and watch what happens now. If I click this red one, right, it filters it. Right? This is extremely powerful because you can use this in so many different ways. And it's kind of a standard when it comes to dashboards that any BI tool has to be able to do this. It's just expected, right? Now, if I go the other way, let's say I click this, well, nothing really happens, but it'd be cool if we can go the other way as well. So you can probably guess that all you have to do is click that button right there. So if I go, well, show me these top 5, what is the breakdown by category? So I can go like this, the little box, or I can click one individually, or I can do this one, hold control, click another one and click another one, and this one will keep filtering based on what I've selected. And the cool thing is this applies to anything you add to this dashboard. So let's say we do another sheet, and let's call this, let's do something a little bit more complicated. Let's go product line, let's go quantity, and I want to do this in a tree map, right? Something like that. Okay, and let's add the color as the profitability. All right, so we can see kind of a red-green kind of, all the ones that aren't very profitable. All right, so let's do this as product name, and let's bring that into the dashboard, like so. All right, I'm gonna go full screen, get rid of this. All right, and maybe we'll put it vertically, or maybe we'll do it this way. Yeah, that's a lot better. All right, I just want to make this one on the right really big. So I've got this one activated as a filter, and I've got this one activated as a filter. So I can actually do filtering in stages. So let's say I go, well, show me anything in furniture, right? You can see this one's already filtered as well, right? So now it's showing me bookcases. And then let's say the question to a manager or a team or a strategy or something like that, you're going, well, why is furnishings not making that much money? What kind of products do we have in there? So if you click this one, it'll filter even further. So what are we looking here on the right? We're looking at the entire product line data set filtered for furniture, and then within that, furnishings, right? So these are all furnishings. If I went the other way, I can do it as well. So let's say I deactivate this. So to go back to original, you just click the one you clicked originally and it goes back. So let's say, I mean, these are all my high selling products on the left because the tree map goes this way from highest to lowest, right? So let's say I go, well, just show me this group. Oops, hang on, I press right click. No, 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 no. Right? Let's say, just show me this group right here. I can actually just go like this, and it will show me a breakdown of category and subcategory sales. Oh, hang on, we got to activate this first. Forgot that step. All right, so I can go something like this, right? And you can see this is filtered, and I can go, well, only show me machines, right? And you can see you can go back and forth, and this is basically what's called data deep dive or data exploration. And when you publish this to the cloud, right, which I have heaps of videos coming for that, if you once you get to the Tableau Online stage, once you publish it to the cloud, anyone who's looking at it can do all that filtering. So you can have, in my experience, what I've seen, like several different analysts from maybe 2 or 3 different areas or divisions using the same dashboard, but for different purposes, right? Back then, when we only had like Excel or Microsoft Access, or maybe not Access, but Excel at least, you would have to build something different for each person or a different analysis. Whereas with Tableau and BI tools, it's self-service. You can give the tool to someone to solve their own problems or find out information of what they want to do. So that is the most basic form of actions. What we're going to do next is start going deeper into kind of the customization you can do and the other types of actions besides filtering as well in the data sets. All right, so let's get into that one. I'm going to clear out the Tableau desktop and we're going to start a fresh one. Okay, going back to the 2 originals we had, which were category and subcategory. We're going to rebuild the dashboard. All right, let's go like this. So nice and clean, nice and fresh. Fresh. Okay, too wide. Here we go. All right, so I said that the easiest way to build them is using this button. All right, every time you press this button, it, like we said, creates an action. But where are those actions actually stored? So where you want to go is, again, make sure you're in dashboard, right? And you want to click on dashboard, and then there's an option, there's an actions button right here. So you click on that, and you'll see there's actually 2 actions that exist. Well, where did they come from? When we click this funnel button, it generates automatically a action, right? So we can go in and edit it. Let's get rid of this second one for the moment, just to keep it simple. So this is the one that we built here, which filters this one and any other subsequent sheets that we're going to add into it. So if we double click, we can go inside. And this is how it is set up. So the source sheets is the first part. This is basically which sheet am I interacting with, right? Meaning what am I clicking on? So in this case, it's category, right? And then when we click on this, right, we're set on select, and I'll explain what the other 2 do. What are our target sheets? Which ones are going to get filtered? Well, that's what we look at in this one. So when we click on category, it's going to filter category and subcategory, right? So what happens if I have, let's say a third one? Okay, so I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to build a third one, but maybe the behavior I want is I don't want it to get filtered. All right, so let's say I got ship status here, and I'm just going to put a value, something like that. So really basic. Let's bring this in. All right, so ship value. So right now what happens is this filter by default just applies to everything. So if I click on that, you can see how it's it's changing. Well, I don't want this to change. So I can go into that action settings, right? Let's get rid of this sub one. I forgot to press OK, right? And we can just tick off the ship because we don't want it to apply to that particular target sheet. And then we just go OK. So now when I click on it, notice that this bottom one doesn't change. And you're probably going to say, well, like, don't you always want it to filter? Well, no, because sometimes you have it that this stays fixed. Maybe it's a reference table that you want everything else to kind of revolve around it, right? I've used that many times where you really just want it to not be part of it. So that's one way for it to be ignored. There's another way to do it. So let's say I go into Dashboard Actions again, and let's get rid of this. All right, so we just remove it, so nothing's going to happen now. Great, no problem, and we'll reactivate it again. The other way to just have this get ignored is if you click on this little triangle here, you can just go ignore actions, right? And that will do the same thing, right? Okay, so another little tip. So that is basically how you would start building the actions. Now, you can do some more behavioral stuff, which I will show you. Let's go back into Dashboard Actions. We're going to edit the one we built, right? And we're going to start modifying this part first. This is by default set to select, meaning when you click it, that's when the action activates. If you select hover, you don't actually have to click, you just hover the mouse. So let's go OK, OK, I'll show you how that works. So when I hover over furniture, you can see it's filtering automatically, right? Or the orange one or the red one. Again, depends what kind of behavior you want. I would recommend though, like to test this first from a performance point of view. I'm using the Superstore data, but sometimes depends on your skill level. You could be using really, really large data sets. We're talking, you know, in the hundreds of millions, maybe more. And the rendering time of this could be quite long, could be very slow. So you always have to think about the user experience, that they're not going to get annoyed because things are just taking too long, right? You want it to be a good user experience. So you'd rather not have that feature at all if it means giving a bad experience. So that's what that one does. Let's go back into actions and let's change this to menu. So what happens after that? Let's go OK and OK. So when I click on it, it takes me to a menu, right? You can see this comes up. Instead of having to just hover over something, when I click on this and hover, I get the same thing, right? Or you can set it to menu. Now this is very beneficial because a lot of the times when people are new to Tableau, I found that when they're trying to get that menu to come up, that one, and it's actually a lot shorter now. It used to be like 2 seconds before it would come up. Now it's almost instant, right? If not instant already. And a lot of people who aren't used to it, they're like clicking and double clicking and right clicking and doing all sorts of crazy stuff because people are impatient. So what you can do is just set it to automatically be a menu. And if you want it to generate the filter, to execute the filter itself, you can just press this automatically generated link, right? And that's how you use the menu one. All right. Next, let's go back in here. I'm going to switch this back to select. And now we're going to look at this part right here. And what this does is it controls what happens to the ones that get filtered, right? Is it going to show everything? Is it going to take them out automatically? Is it going to leave them out or include them back in? So it's hard to explain, so I'll show you what happens. If we go leave the filter, right, and I click furniture, right, everything's still normal. The setting we just changed is for when you release it. So if I click this again, right, nothing happens, right? And then if I click on orange, it'll filter, and when I click it again, nothing happens. So that's the type of behavior you'll get. Sometimes it's good, depends what you're trying to achieve, right? But knowing it's there is great because if you need it, it's there. Let's go to the last one and exclude, and you can probably guess this is kind of the opposite in a way. So if I click on this, normal, right? And now there's nothing because it's excluding anything else. So it'll only appear when there's data. Now this one is really good for something that is for data sets that are extraordinarily large. So let's say in each of these there are, I don't know, 500 million data points or something that's graphics heavy, back in the day, it was like maps. Maps used to take some time to render, but with the new with the new map box feature, it's not so much an issue now. But anything where it takes up a lot of processing or calculations or something, at the beginning, it's usually showing all your data. So instead, you can use this setting. So when you click on something, it's like a filtered version of whatever the visualization is. So there's less for your computer or the internet to process, right? So it's a performance consideration. All right, so that is basically the customization you can do with filtering. There's a few other ones, but they're a bit more advanced tools, probably not useful to a lot of beginner, intermediate, even most experts. I particularly don't use a lot of the more advanced features, but if you're interested to know what those are, leave a comment saying, show me the expert or something like that, and I'll know to make some more videos on it. All right, so we're going to cover, like, I think there's 3 or 4 more action types, and we're going to cover them. I'm going to clear this out, and we're going to start with a fresh sheet. All right, we're back to the original dashboard. I'm going to show you the next one, which is called highlighters. Highlighter, something like that. Actions. All right, we're going to go add action and highlight. This works a little bit like the filter, except it doesn't actually get rid of values, but it will highlight them so you can kind of see them in context. So let's do it kind of the opposite. So we're going to use subcategory to highlight category. Right, so going the other way. So our source sheet will be subcategory. That's where we're clicking, right? We're doing select because we want to click on it, and we want it to apply to, let's do it to both, and we'll leave it as such. We'll go OK and OK. So now when I click on copiers, you can see that these 2 values are still here, right? And it's only highlighting the value. And this is really beneficial for when you want to see values in context of everything else that's in the data set. Because 1.3 million on its own may not mean anything, but compared to other groups, it may mean it's good, it's bad, it's high, it's low, whatever it might be. And that's really all there is to highlight. It's very, very simple, right? We'll do one modification to it so you can kind of see the changes. If I do, let's go the other way. Let's see how it works. And we'll turn that one off. Right, you can see it's showing just on its own. Right, so there's not really much to highlighting. So we'll move to the next one, which is URL. So let's get rid of this old one. Let's go add action, go to URL. All right, let's give it whatever name you want to give it. And this basically is when you click the sheet itself. So when you click anything on here, it will activate this action, right? So I'm gonna say only click on subcategory. All right, we want it to be select. And where do we want to go? Well, we can just go to Google for now as a test. We'll test the link, right? You can see it's opened up Google. Great, no problem at all. And we can just change this setting, which is basically just open a new tab or browser tab if no web page object exists. A lot of the times I don't even change this. I just leave it as such. So you can take it to normal links, or you can take it to something in your own company, right? Something on your intranet, maybe like a specialized page, maybe a link on Tableau Online for a particular dashboard, something like that. So we go OK and OK. So when I click on this, right, takes me straight to Google, right? Pretty cool feature, right? Let's go to the next action, right? And that's go to sheet. Let's get rid of this other one first. Okay, and we can go to sheet. So this one is really useful. Again, we'll leave them both on, and we'll make the target sheet. Let's say, actually, let's go build it. Right, so I'm going to build something that's a lot more detailed than this, and there's a reason I want to do that. So let's say I have manufacturer, we've got the discount, maybe not discount, maybe I've got profit per order, oh, maybe nothing with negatives in it. Let's just go quantity, something basic. I'm going to go to a packed bubble, and we're going to go by subcategory in the colors, right? And this is just to add a bit of color to your day if you're feeling a bit blue. Okay, so let's say in like a business setting, so it would be Mr. Jed, let's see the latest results. I go, no worries, Mr. Manager, sir. Here we go. So we got technology here. Let's turn this on. All right, we got technology here, and we got we've got accessories. Oh, I forgot to turn off the action. Hang on one second. Let's just get rid of these. Get rid of this one. Right. So in a meeting, you go, all right, well, furniture is not doing really good, and the question is going to be, well, what's in there? Well, we got bookcases, chairs, tables, and furnishings. Well, what's going on with furnishings? What's that made of? And when you click on furnishings, well, nothing happens. So it's kind of the end of the conversation. So you want it to kind of be free flowing, but you may also not want to show that much detail or whatever it might be. It could be, a tree map or something like that. Right? And you may not want to show it in that much detail here because either they're not going to actually ask it, and also this could just be a summary page for senior executives, right? So you want to keep it relatively clean. So you want it that if they do ask that question, when you click on something, it'll take you somewhere where you can answer that question. So we can add an action here. So dashboard actions, let's go, that's fine. Let's add another one, go to sheet. We're going to go subcategory only, which is where we're clicking, and take us to sheet 3, right? Which is that packed bubble we made. We go OK and OK. So we go furniture. All right, great. Let's talk about furnishings, and we can go in here, and then maybe we'll have a subcategory button like so. Show filter. Go single select. Right? And then from here, we can continue the conversation, go, well, here's what we have in furnishings, right? So you can have one link to another, to another, to another, right? So that is how you use, what was this called? Go to sheet. So the next ones we're going to cover are a bit more advanced. So you can pretty much end it here if you don't want to keep watching. But if you want to learn some really cool stuff, we're going to learn how you can use actions to change parameters and how you can change actions to modify sets. Right. So what is actually in a set? So we're going to get started on that part right now. All right, we're all cleaned up and I've got rid of all the actions, I believe. They're all gone. So let's start fresh. And what we're going to look at is parameters, right? How are we going to use the visualization and actions to change a parameter, right? So let's first start by building a parameter. Let's go create parameter, and I'm going to call this parameter word. Right, so there's two kinds of parameters. Well, there's multiple, but we're going to do two as an example, right? First one is a word. So we're going to change this to a string. And the idea is I want this parameter to equal whatever I click in here. So if I click on phones, it's going to change the parameter to the word phones, right? And then the second example we'll do is when you click it, I want to change the parameter to whatever the value I select is, right? So let's leave that as the, let's use art as the starting word and go OK. All right, so we got the word in here as a parameter, and we're going to go to a calculation. Let's call this calc param word. All right, and we're just going to make an equal parameter word. And the only reason I'm doing this is so we can display them at the same time for training, so you can actually see when it changes. Right, so we go OK, and let's build a dashboard. Bring in subcategory, and we're going to bring in that param word. All right, so let's go param word, sheets, and we'll make this nice and large. Let's say like this. Put that in the middle. And let's bring the word in here. All right, so the idea is when I click on chairs or anything like this, I want this to change. All right, so if I go dashboard actions, we're going to go add action, and we're going to go change parameter. All right, so what we're going to be clicking on is subcategory. So that is our source sheet. We want it to be on click, right, on select. And the target parameter, basically the one we want to modify on this action, is the parameter word we just created, right? And then what do we want to change it with? Well, we have two choices, category and subcategory. And what's in this list is what you've used to actually build this visualization. So you can only see subcategory, but why is category showing up? Well, that's because we've used category as the color. right? So it shows you all the dimensions you could possibly use. For this example, we're going to use subcategory. And then for the aggregation, we're just going to leave it as none and go OK and go OK. So when I click storage, you can see it's changing now. Now you're probably like, oh, cool, I've changed the names. But a parameter can be used in all sorts of ways. And I have videos on parameters, so check those out. It's an entire subject unto itself, so I won't cover it here. But once you can start doing this kind of stuff, you can start connecting parameters to formulas. You can connect it to more like logic-based functions. You can start adding it into coloring and sorting and grouping, all sorts of things you can do with it. So that is part one of this. The second part is how do you change a number? So let's do another parameter. I'm going to call this parameter. You can probably guess. Oh, wrong one. Parameter number. So parameter number. Oh, we'll do the full word. All right. And we'll just leave this as a float, right? Floating point value. I think that's what it's called. And let's set it to 10,000. And we'll make the display format. I think it was currency anyway. All right, that'll do. Just so we can have, I just want the comma in there just so you can kind of see it for this example. Right, parameter word, and we're going to do a calculation. And again, the reason we're doing calculation is because I can't bring this straight in here to display it for this video. So that's why you have to refer to the parameter with a calculation. So let's call this calc param word. And we're just going to go parameter word. Okay. Oh, hang on. No, it's not word, it's number. Oh, geez, it's late. Parameter number. All right, let's bring this into the label, entire view, and you're going to notice something straight away. This number is massive, and I'll explain why that is massive. All right, so let's go bring it in. So let's call this param number. Let's bring it in here. Okay, let's do the dashboard action, pretending that we haven't seen that error. We're going to go change parameter. Same thing, so we're going to go subcategory as our source. The target parameter in this case is the number, and the field is the sum of sales, because that's the only measure that's really here. So that's the one we're going to use, and we're going to leave this as sum because we're summing here. And okay. So what I can expect to see is if I click storage, this will change to $376,000. All right, so it is changing. Great, that means the action works, but why is the value so high? Well, if we go back to the sheet, the reason is this should not be sum, it should be dimension. All right, so that's really the reason for it. But it's good to always kind of trust your instincts of like something's not right here and just have a look into it. So let's just format that quickly. Currency, like that. And we can see 114, 62, 370. And I think you can change this to multiples as well. So let's say these two. Yeah, 797. So you can change it on multiples or sums of multiple selections. So that is how you change parameters. So that's kind of like gives you a taste of the possibilities and the kind of craziness you can do with Tableau, right, as you start learning new things. The last thing we're going to learn is how do you use actions to change sets. All right, so let's do a little recap of what sets are. So let's say I have some category, sales. Oh, my throat's really dry. I just had a kebab and some chips and a solo at like 1 in the morning. Oh, it was great. If you live in Australia and you know, you know what it's like having a kebab at like 1 in the morning. It's just the greatest thing ever. So if you're one of those people who love it, just, comment below and just say, oh, I love me some kebabs, and, then I mad respect. So anyways, getting back to this, let's create a set, right? So a set really has just two groups, in or out. A group, you can do individual groups, right? You can have 5 groups, 10 groups in a whole collection of your data. Whereas in a set, it's just in or out. So let's call this action set test, and we go OK. All right, and now we have this set here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to color, and I'm going to add it here into rows, right, so that they're separated. Okay, let's change these colors up a little bit. The gray is just way too sad for me. All right, let's put this into a dashboard. Okay. All right, so pretty standard. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to do another one. Let's call this set sub cat. And let's do another one of sales by that set, right? So we have them kind of consolidated. Let's make this a pie chart, right? With labels and entire view. Make it a little bit larger. All right, let's call this pie, and let's add it in here. Get rid of this. Okay, here we go. So let's say I'm doing some sort of deep dive analysis, or I'm having a meeting and it was agreed upon a week ago, Jed, these are the 5 groups that we're going to be using and this is the visualization report and let's move on. And then the very last second, and anyone who's worked in the professional world knows that after telling everybody, these are the 5, these are the 5, you put it in emails and everything and everyone's like, yep, good, 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 good. The very last second when you're about to submit, someone goes, oh, maybe we should add machines. You know, you're just like, oh my gosh, and then you have to redo everything. So one thing you can do is actually control what is in each group without actually explicitly going right click, add to set, and all that stuff, right? You can do that with actions. So let me show you how it works. So if we go dashboard actions, we're going to go add action, change set values. All right, so again, same thing, source sheets is the set subcat. It's on select. All right, now here's where it gets a little bit kind of, a little bit iffy for me. So the set we're going to be modifying is the action set test, the only one we have, right? And for now, I'm going to leave these as is. All right, let's press OK, and let's press OK. So let's see what happens when I select something, right? It suddenly changed the one I selected to be the only one in the in. And if I click again, now everything's in the in. So what it does is by default, by not selecting anything, you can choose what goes in or out, right? So now those are the only ones that are in. And you can see anything connected to that set in terms of a visualization is also modifying itself, right? So you can change things on the fly. Now this opens up heaps of possibilities because you can also do calculations off sets, right? Because a set is really just a true and false statement, right? It's either in or out, yes or no, 1 or 0, right? Let's modify some of those settings. Right, so now I'm going to go add values to set. So we're going to do these one by one and let's see what happens. So we'll leave that as add all values. All right, so if I click this again, let's see what happens. All right, so nothing, and I think it's because I got that one wrong. All right. No, hang on. This worked really well in my practice round, and now it's embarrassing me. Hang on. Let's actually start there. Let's go back and let's set that one to there. Keep set values. We'll start on the other way. Maybe that's why. All right, so now that's doing some stuff. So what the difference this time is if you click that first one, all right, let's say I've clicked these are in the in. When I deactivate it, everything stays in place, right? Instead of it resetting. So now let's go to the other one and you'll see, that's right, this is what I was doing before in my practice. Remove all values from set. It does the other way, so by default, they're all in the out. So it just depends what kind of behavior you want, and you can play with the 3. Now, personally, I don't remember all the time because I'm not building sets all the time, but it's pretty easy to switch them back and forth to really get the behavior you want ultimately. All right, let's go and check this one, add values to set. Actually, let's try the last one because I can't remember what that one's doing. Remove values from set. All right. Oh, I remember now. I just had to pause it and do a little quick recap. All right. So it's the way you read this. So this is kind of, I kind of wish Tableau will change this because you can't have all settings corresponding. So for example, running the action will add values to the set, right? But clearing the actions will add all values to the set. So that doesn't make any sense. So one has to add them, one has to remove them. So it's kind of like always opposing forces. So let's say I do remove values from a set when I select. That means when I deselect it, either I'm going to keep them or add them all back in. If I do remove all values from a set, well then I can't have the same behavior twice, otherwise it will just lock into place and nothing will happen. So that is the main difference between those. So just be sure that you're always choosing something to bring the data back or to kind of reset the data set. All right, and that is basically like 95% of all the things you can do with actions. And if you end up finding some really cool ways or you end up using in your project, please let me know. I'd love to hear about your story of how it all happens. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed and I will see you next time.